Hello everyone and welcome to the Sustainability Cities and Communities digital event hosted by the CMI Singapore board. I'm Claire, one of the event managers at CMI. I'll shortly be handing over to Raj Namallasetti to begin today's event. We're delighted today to be joined by Eugene Seah from Surbana Jurong Group. If you have any questions for either Raj or Eugene, please use the chat function to the right of your screen. We'll answer as many as we can today during the Q&A. We've also received quite a lot of pre-submitted questions from you, which is brilliant. Today's session is being recorded and will be shared with you later today for those of you who booked to attend. And the recording will also be available on the CMI website and CMI YouTube channel. So without further ado, I will hand over to Raj from the CMI Singapore board. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. Good afternoon and a warm welcome to everyone for today's event. Myself, Raj, I'm a council member of CMI Singapore and I'm your host for today. Let us ask ourselves, what is sustainability? I thought about this topic and then, for me, it is more like meeting present needs without compromising the future generations and their needs. Example, environmental quality, social impact, economic development. Let's learn more on these topics from our subject matter expert, Mr. Eugene Seah. Eugene joined Surbana Jurong Group as a senior director in the group's CEO office to spearhead and oversee group's special projects and strategic initiatives. In particular, the group's key account management office, digital management office, and sustainability and resiliency office. He's also a director on the boards of 360, cost management, and cost contract advisory. With his knowledge and expertise, he helps to fortify the business thrust of the group. He is also an appointed managing director of Surbana Technologies, pushing Surbana Jurong's smart city. His combined experience, management, sustainability, digital and smart solutions, Eugene brings on board a wealth of well-rounded knowledge of development and asset management for projects and provide solutions to the clients and also key accounts. Eugene graduated with a Bachelor's of Science from University of Reading in 1999, BSc in Technology Management and Computing from University of Portsmouth in 2002. He also completed his Master of Science in Construction Law and Arbitration from Joint NUS and King's College London and MSc in Sustainability Building Design in University of Nottingham. And also, he has also completed a Senior Management Development Program from Harvard Business School. Without any further delay, I would like to invite Eugene to share his knowledge on today's topic, sustainability, cities and communities.
Well, good morning and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eugene, and Raj, thank you for the invite and also the kind introduction. I hope you can hear me clearly, and I'll be pleased to bring you through the next 20 minutes on sustainability, and I would like to introduce something about smart technologies as well. I come from a mixed background, as what Raj has mentioned. I'm a quantity surveyor by profession. I'm glad to say that most of my studies actually from the UK. I kind of miss the UK weather a lot, especially now it's hot and humid in Singapore. And what I'd like to share with you today is on how the company looks at designing smart, sustainable, and resilient cities, and how do we then operate these cities. So a little bit about Sabana Jurong. This is our tagline, building cities and shaping lives, because we feel that whatever we do in terms of how we design cities, that will actually impact the lives that are going to be staying there. We know of smart cities. We know of cities that are developed and designed for certain economic reasons. And if they're not balanced in the triple bottom line, then you would have situations where, for example, a port city is completed, but there's no business going there. So we just need to make sure that whatever we do, when we build and when we design, we need to make sure that it's proper, because it will affect the lives of people staying there. So we build smart cities, and also we shape industries. And the work that we do is not only in Singapore, just to show you some of the stuff that we do in India, Africa, and even in China, and of course in Southeast Asia. And most of them you see are on housings, on townships, and also on cities or townships that have some economic focus. We started in the 1960s when we first became independent. We are almost a near bankrupt country, and so basically the government set up the Housing Development Board and the industrial goods and just the Jurong Town Corporation. So basically, one looks into housing, the other one looks at industrialization and economics. In 2003 and 2001, respectively, they formed their own consulting group with Sabana Jurong versus Sabana and that of Jurong Consultants, and we came together in 2016 to form the Sabana Jurong Group. But this actually meant that when we first started, the roots actually started with very humble beginnings. And when we want to design, we design based on economic planning and social planning. This would mean that it will be not at one go that you will start building four-lane highways, 5-lane highways. It could be a situation where you build 2-lane highways, slowly then build the rest of the lanes of highways, or it could be a situation where you build just 2 lanes with the ability to convert other new lanes that's coming up into EV lanes or autonomous lanes. So it is really looking at the matching of the economics of the cities, the growth cities, the economic power, the Gini index, all with that of our social economic planning. So I've always believed that when we want to develop smart cities or in terms of sustainability, we need to look at a lot of things like first is the planning, then the foundations of the township, which means looking at infrastructure, planning of the design, looking at smart ways of working. For example, in Singapore, we are pushing for PPPC. I understand in the UK, they are looking at Glue Lab and CLT. And of that, then how do we make the city smart and sustainable? So this is the Venn diagram to say that it's really looking at how we can build, working together with the clients and their goals, working with different sets of consultants, and trust me, there's a lot of consultants that's actually involved, and they have to be coordinated and managed, but not forgetting the contractors. During the time when I was studying the UK, the Egan report and then the Leighton report and the Egan report came up about looking at partnering, and I'm fully, I did a dissertation on partnering when I was in King's, and I believe that during the design and construction stage, partnering is very essential. And then, while we move towards the operation stage, partnering is still there, but with different parties and different players, especially, for example, with the facilities managers. So throughout the life cycle of the township, of the city, we are looking at whether the planning, procurement, operations, and renewal for asset enhancement investment. There's always a need to make sure that there's a balance in design, a balance in social equity, a balance in estate management. It cannot be too expensive. And most importantly, the governance behind it, the policies and the advisory. So there must be clear goals in mind in how we want to look at these cities. As you know, there are smart and accessible cities out there, and once they are completed, probably they are only be able to suit probably about 60-70% of the population. The rest either is too advanced for them, they're not too sure, or they don't even use the apps that have been created on how to navigate within the cities itself. So I think there's a need to make sure that there's social equity goals in mind, and looking at how we can look and bringing things like planning principles like integrated, connected, safety, self-contained, vibrancy, environmental sustainability, a universal design which the young and old, all ages will be able to work in and move around the city. Safety, security, privacy, maintainability, productivity, and last but not least, with a shared vision of housing people and also making it sustainable. So there's a lot of words that goes in, and the kind of design that we are looking at is pretty unique, because even to the fact that how the kitchens will face each other, we look into that, because we do not want, when the wind blows, the essence of one kitchen will flow into the other. I remember when I was studying in Reading, I was staying in Sheffield Hall, when I was cooking my lasagna and frying my fried fish. My classmate from Greece, who was on the third floor, nearly came down to wring my neck, because he said, "Hey, Eugene, something died here," because he couldn't stand the smell. Now, because when we design cities, we have to make sure that when we talk about sustainability, right? Raj talked about sustainability. There's also social cohesion as well. So there must be a social aspect, there must be an environmental aspect, and there must also be an economic aspect. So it must be balanced. Now, so once you move into past that design stage, how the city is managed, how the waste is actually collected, how it's maintained and operated, and also that will all fit into the innovation of the design. And this, we call it data-driven design. It means we collect all this data from the cities that we have designed, say, 30 years ago, and we bring it now to today in 2021 to say, okay, how can we improve? How can we? How do we know that the president doesn't like this? Because we have about 1 million over surveys that we conduct, and we are able to know whatever the feelings of the citizens staying in these cities, and how that will influence design. So, give you an example. We have collected data for over 200 over buildings, and we are able to show a correlation between design and upfront to the operational cost and the life cycle cost of either equipment or buildings. This is so exciting, because when we saw that, we realized that in terms of correlation, there's an R-squared of more than 0.9, so it's 90% of correlation, whereby certain designs will actually affect that of higher operational costs. Certain designs will actually affect people who are not happy on certain areas. So with that data, we are now putting back to our design, and we have come up with configurators that use BIM. In this case, it's using Grasshopper and ArchiCAD to be able to come up with designs for us. And we tell the computer, hey, computer, these are the things that these are the whole sets of parameters we have. Tell me what is the best design. And the computer will come up with probably 200 over iterations, and you just choose top 5. That's the best. So a lot of things now is done by, we call it the housing automator, but we have other planning tools that we're looking at it as citywide, and in this case precinct-wide, and we'll be able to then come up with good designs at the front of the project that is then built, finished, and then it's operated, and people then we get their feedback, and then it forms the basis for the next generation of people living in this smart and sustainable cities. So really, I mean, Raj has actually mentioned a bit of what sustainability is about making sure that whatever we're using now doesn't affect the future generation. But I'd like to also mention about smart, right, in terms of putting technology as an underpinning platform for these cities. But don't forget, I think we need to talk about resiliency as well. certain cities in Southeast Asia is already below the sea level. Singapore, certain parts of the East Coast, for example, without even needing to be with rain when there's a high tide, certain parts of the East Coast will see water, flooding at the East Coast Parkway, right? Because we know that the sea level is actually rising. So we just need to make sure we take into account resiliency in what we plan. So whether is it heat island effect, for example, when you take away all the trees and the grass, there's more surface runoff, there's more place for pavings for heated areas. That's why I said I really miss the weather in the UK. I still remember coming out from my dorm, and you're hit with a blast of 4 degrees air, and suddenly you're just alive. Singapore is just hot and humid, so we just need to make sure we design that properly. We have to be careful with the design because, for example, some people say, "Oh, it's great to get cross ventilation," but again, in the tropics, it may not be a good reason because the pavings outside the house or the condominium will be heated up to 40 to up to even 45 degrees Celsius. And when the wind blows, you're actually getting 40-degree air into the house, which is not a very nice idea where the house is a nice 28 degrees or 30 degrees. So we just need to make sure all these things is planned properly, and in order to validate design all that's where technologies actually come in. So smart, sustainable technologies come into action, but it makes cities resilient as well. So when we talk about smart, right, it's really when you talk about smart space, whether it's your room, your flat, your floor, a building, a precinct, or a city, it can be, these are the main words like real-time monitoring, digitizing of the rooms, smart sensors, data analytics, data as a service, workflows, mobility, and even looking at how we can put all these into a centralized management system. What you see on the screen is our we call it the IOC on the go, Integrated Operational Center on the go, whereby within the iPad Pro, you'll be able to see how the building, or in this case, a floor, is being operated. We shouldn't just concentrate on the urban. We should be also looking at the softscape as well, landscaping in this case. So we have situations in Singapore whereby because of either root rot or the soil is not good, it's saturated with water, trees actually fall, and we have actually cases of trees actually killing people before. So when we go into smart cities, we should look at it as a whole, including the softscape, and this is whereby we have put sensors on trees, sensors on the soil to know whether there's root rot, the health of soil, whether it's saturated with water, which is not a very good sign, or even the health of the tree, right? And this is something that we also monitor in Singapore. And when we look into smart spaces, it can be rooms or buildings. We first and foremost, it's just not sustainability. That means looking whether it's a green building or not, and energy and water. We also start looking into things like indoor air quality, indoor environment quality, business process re-engineering for workspace management, even pest control. And I have an example later to show you. So this is our collaboration hub, and we had some issues. So we had techno up this hub already, but when the facilities managers came in and said that, hey, we have a rat issue, can you help us? So what we did was we put in about 20 rat sensors. These are the small sensors, the size of probably is only 3 or 4 mm in diameter. It's one of those things that when I first saw it, it just reminded me of Mission Impossible, whereby you take this sensor and you put it as a micro dot on somebody's shoulder, you'll be able to sense what he says and vibrations. Now we had that. We put 20 of that all around the ceiling, and we actually managed to plot out, and with some data algorithms in it, the rats, where are they staying, where are they living, what is the highway that the rat actually use, because rats are creatures of habit. We could even plot out up to 1 meter where the expressway of these rats they go up and down, and we managed to plot all this out, and we then set traps at strategic locations where the data will tell us, hey, put the trap there. And in 3 days, we caught 3 rats, huge size rats. And after the 3rd rat has been caught, 2 female, 1 male, I guess they may have spread the news that, hey, don't come to Savannah Jurong because you get caught. We never had a rat infecting, any issues on rats after that, nor any vibrations to show there could be either roaches up there and so on and so forth. So probably they spread the word. This is really using technology to come in to help in creating an environment, indoor environment quality, and for smart cities. We have a platform. So also in terms of smart cities, they must be integrated with a platform, because it is not advisable to have standalone platforms and then start taking data out to sieve it manually. What is good is to have a standard platform, and so we have a platform called 24K, which is in the cloud, and there are 7 layers whereby you have a user-centric layer. So if you're a facilities manager, you have one workflow. If you're security, you have another workflow. You can have a digital twin, and I'd like to show you some examples of digital twin later. We have data scientists which have written algorithms inside for algorithmic modules, so that we'll be able to churn out predictive and preemptive maintenance. It's an open platform, so we can actually plug in many sensors, types of sensors inside, whether sensors from Singapore, sensors from Taiwan, from Japan, from Germany, will all be able to fit into it. But most importantly, I'm guided by this by looking at ISO 37100. So this is an international ISO on smart, sustainable, resilient cities that is also aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And from that, it gave me a framework of what you're looking at today in terms of safety, sustainability, security, facilities management, and good feedback. So, and it's also guiding us and talking about how we can operate it clearly. So ISO 37100 is my base. There are altogether like 30 or 40 technical reference on that. So it's 37101, 102, and so on and so forth. This is my, I can share with you, is my secret sauce that I read through to how I can look at the entire framework of looking at smart, sustainable, resilient cities, the technology behind it to support sustainability. So in Singapore, we are looking at, after more than 35,000 over sensors. Just to start out, it's small compared to the UK, because Singapore is only 624 kilometers square. UK is much bigger, right? And but this is considered big for us already when we are looking at 35,000, for example, lifts that we are looking at. We are monitoring over 800 over sensors from the Transport Authority, the Public Utilities Authority, and over 1 million feedback that we have received from residents staying in the different 17 townships in Singapore. And really from that, because we have workflows, we've written the workflows, and there is, when we discussed with the town council managers in preparation for CMI, they said that, hey, there's actually a reduction in paperwork, wastage, there's a better in terms of claims management, lesser complaints, and these are the tangible, intangible benefits that we can see in terms of having a smart city and having a smart city platform. What is actually most important, and some people say, hey, this is a political thing, but to me, I use it because in terms of what Raj actually mentioned, in terms of the triple bottom line, right? The people, profit, planet, the people part, or the social equity part. By having good feedback, by able to cross-reference it to complaints, by able to cross-reference it to equipments that are breaking down, to be able to know temperatures on the ground, for example, and the ambient temperature, you will be able to then get all the sentiments, I call it sentiment analysis, from the people staying there, and you'll be able to then mine this. This is a very, very, very powerful tool if you want to know how your people are feeling within the city itself. Mayors, members of parliament, they will love this. Basically, we have used a scientific approach to see how we can analyze the data and use natural language processing to be able to data mine more information, because sometimes they probably will not put it in the right category or just put it miscellaneous. We are able to then data mine it a bit more, whether it's a fire issue, whether it's a pest issue, whether it's a lift issue, or so on and so forth. So I feel that this is very, very important, because that's the next generation of sustainability we're talking about, whereby you'll be able to design based on people's behavior, people's wants and needs, and basically to all ages. I know there's a project in the UK, I think it's called the Blue Water Project, whereby it's not only a sustainable BREEAM project, but it's also, for example, they'd be able to pipe extract air from all the confectioneries, all the great stuff, food stuff, and pipe it outside. So when people walk and they smell, oh wow, I still remember going to Argos or Tesco's or Sainsbury's, when I smell the fresh baked rolls and buns, I would just immediately walk into the place, because it just stirs my hunger. So I believe the next generation of sustainable buildings, designs, and townships will move towards that, because it's really the delight factor of the people that matters the most. I'm sorry. So this is just an example of how we look at digital twins and how we take all these information into to put it within a dashboard. And as you can see, this is where my office is in Bukit Merah, and you'll be able to see, for example, things are working in green, in maintenance in yellow, or we have some faults in red. You'll be able to look at traffic. You'll be able to look at pedestrians, for example, and so on and so forth. So again, the digital twin is really going to make a big difference, and I know RICS is looking at that, and which means that the move for smart cities, smart, sustainable, and resilient cities is going to be very important. I'm not saying that the designs of buildings or spaces is not going to be important. It's going to be equally important, if not more, because the sum of the parts will make the whole. But there is actually a need to make sure that the holistic view of the vision, in terms of the balanced scorecard approach to smart cities is reviewed properly, so that this can be cascaded down to how we design spaces and buildings. So I did mention that, how do we collect million over feedback? How do we collect information from people? Well, we have apps like this. This is our campus community app, whereby we can do wayfinding, digital management, car parking systems. We are now connecting it to our EV partners, electric vehicle partners, because we are we have a fast charge, 20 minutes, 80%, and slow charge, which means takes more than 6 hours. So we must also monitor behaviors of how people charge their cars. You can't go into the fast charge lot and leave your car there for 6 hours, because it's just within a quick less than half an hour to charge your car to up to 80%, right? So then you must drive your car out again. So we need to think of the behavioral change of how, if you have an electric vehicle, how this is going to help. So we have done similar apps for the Changi Airport, for example. So for those of you who have gone to Changi Airport and you go to the toilet and you press those, whether it's smiling face or sad face, which is smelly and dirty, it actually forms a work order for cleaners to come in as and when there's a need. And we'll be able to match that to behaviors of people and how they actually use the toilet. And we have actually got some interesting results. But I think the most interesting is that we managed to economize the cleaners, and we can actually tell them, hey, please go to this place now and then check and do the cleaning. Please go to that place now. So we actually have a works order for them. So it's again bringing technology into facilities management. So happy citizens bring, of course, you brings economics to the place. So I think this sort of interactive dashboard is very important. The one on the bottom right-hand corner is to show how we connect to town councils as well to get the feedback from the people. And how do we then use this to do analysis? So one can be that of complaints. Another one could be that of mosquitoes, fire, short circuit, because some of our blocks are like 30, 40 years old already. So we just need to be cognizant of the fact that they need maintenance. It's not every day we can actually change a lift. And some of the, we call it chronic lifts, chronic escalators, they are getting of age. So we need to make sure we monitor them properly. And with our system, over the last 30 years, we have managed to bring down the instances of chronic lifts to a very low number, because we are able to then predict, preempt, and let people know when to go in to repair the lifts, and it's always repaired at silent hours. So when you go to work bright and early at 7, 8 a.m. in the morning, you're not caught out with lifts that are spoiled. We are also looking at things like drones, whereby in terms of inspection, and this drone data is then fed back into our system, our 24K as mentioned, to do further analysis. We're using it to check on our trees, whether they are, with spectral analysis, you will know whether they are, with photosynthesis, you'll be able to know whether they are doing well. And our engineers are doing facade inspections, measuring of reclaimed land, or even, the caissons that we're doing in the land reclamation. It's very interesting, because when we did a post evaluation for the engineers to say, hey, especially the younger engineers, they like this work, because they are saying that, as an engineer, they be able to do their work, but yet they can fly drones. So, and we work with people from with DJI, with Israel Technology, for example, to see how we can improve the drone process, especially the programs that sit behind it. In terms of facilities management, we are also using a program called Omni that ingests the BIM model from the design of the stage into our software, so that we will be able to carry out BIM, integrated facilities management in a BIM environment. So whether it's space management, operations management, whether it's asset management, or even a workflow for reporting management, all these is within our Omni, this integrated facilities management system. And it has shown things like space efficiency, energy efficiency optimization, for example, and also sustainability. So we're pretty proud of this, and we have deployed this for some of the Institute of Higher Learning, the universities, plus sensors, up to 3,000 over sensors in each of the IHL, so that we can collect passive and active data, and so that we can do our analytics on top of this as well. We're also trying to improve security to make it safer, whereby rather than have security guards walk around, or they say, like, I'm a bit skeptical about robots though, because when we speak to the security people on the ground, they're saying that, look, if you have a robot walking around, if a thief comes in and pushes the robot over, that's it, right? So we're just thinking now how to circumvent this, and we are looking at cameras linked to the digital twin to be able to do virtual patrolling. So you'll be able to go on a virtual camera and click on the camera, so that it teleports you to the area, and so you can actually have a look at certain areas. We are then taking the images to go into video analytics, and I'm tying up with the National Supercomputing Center that's providing me a very low hosting data cost, but a petaflop worth of analytics, so that I'll be able to do live analytics rather than after the fact analytics. So stay tuned to this space. Things are actually going to be improving here. We are now working with the National Supercomputing Center, and this project should be finishing in September this year. So basically, just like to wrap this whole thing up with 2 more slides on really smart cities, smart buildings, sustainable buildings, resilient cities, and resilient nation is what Sapana Jurong is now pushing for with our platform, and working with our partners to look at how we can improve the quality of life of these people living in these spaces. When I say space, it could be a home, it could be a floor, it could be a building, or even a city itself. But most importantly, following ISO 3710, we need to get the feedback of the people. We need to get, of course, security, safety, utilities, saving utilities, it must be also a higher delight factor. There's no point doing all these and we don't get happy citizens. It has to be economical, and most important, it has to help combat the increase of the carbon footprint of the place. There's two more things that we'll be looking at this year. One is true waste, whereby we are working with the US Green Building Council to see how we can get buildings to be zero waste. That means when you operate a building, there's zero waste that goes to the landfill. That means you'll be able to use your waste. So I'll give you an example. Some of the organic waste that I have, I will mince it and I'll plant it in my garden. In my garden, I grow my vegetables, and my vegetables, I take that for soup and so on and so forth. So it is an ecosystem. So these are some of the things that we are looking now and we are pushing. This is not only for buildings in the urban space. We are now going to be targeting the infrastructure space as well come 2022. We are also working with the Monetary Authority of Singapore to use this platform together with trust technologies with blockchain to be able to see how we can bring certification, two types of certification. It could be BREEAM for a building, for example, plus an REC, renewable energy certification, so that we can get net zero carbon. So we probably have to work with PwC, Deloitte, and so forth. And as Sabana Jurong, we can certify that of the building certification. So Singapore, we have Green Mark. For example, Australia is Green Star, and so on and so forth. And we work in this ecosystem to then certify and bring together partners that we can lower the operational carbon or embodied carbon in this case. Embodied carbon, we have to. I think there's a drive in Holland called reversible design or building as material banks, and this is where and I know, for example, Arabs is looking to get very closely in the UK, how we can have this ecosystem of partners to help combat climate change and lower carbon for smart, sustainable, and resilient cities. So I'd just like to leave you with this thought of how we can look at cities with digital twins, and this is a situation whereby you can we twinned up the whole of Singapore and be able to do studies on sun path analysis and so on and so forth. So perhaps I'll just play this video and let you have a look at it. Well, thank you very much for this CMI for the opportunity to speak to you today and share with you the ideas on smart, sustainable spaces and cities. And I think the one thing I'd like to leave with you is that when we design whatever we design in a built environment, we do need to know how we can improve the quality of lives of people. The hardware is very important, and once we get that right, I think the rest will actually fall into place. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eugene. It was a very insightful presentation. I'm amazed to see that some of the tools in the technology like IoT, apps, AI, design tools, which are used to meet the smart needs of the people, and also to do the asset management, operational management, security management, utility management, improving the energy efficiencies, and also improving the operational efficiencies, which helps us to reduce the carbon footprint and making the future much more sustainable. Wow, this is quite interesting presentation I have come across, and thanks for your time. Maybe before we close, we want to take you through some of the questions from our audience. If you allow me to pose some questions for you. This is a question from Brian. How do you link regeneration to effective sustainability?
So, Brian, I would assume that when you say regeneration would be if it's something like the Docklands, how do we regenerate cities, old venues into more sustainable place? Well, I guess first and foremost, the policy and governance around it is very important. It has to tie in with what the government is looking at, the targets that we are looking at. I understand that, for example, in Singapore, we have the third Green Master Plan already. We have the Green Plan, and many other governments will have that sort of thrust. So that governance will have to tie in with the overall master plan of the place, of the city, and then that actually flows into the design. But one additional thing I probably would like to add is KPIs. So like all balanced scorecards, you do have objectives, you do have the vision, and then you break it down to the different agencies that or government agencies, and then to the policy of that piece of land or the different parcels of land in that regenerative area. That needs to have a good strategy behind it, because if it doesn't and it's like free for all, it's like having a retail mall without good tenant mix. You will not get a good outcome for that. So it has to be planned to a science with outcomes, and government like to use this thing called economic value add and all that. That I feel would be the key point, because that will actually help guide shape thinking, shape frameworks. The KPIs, for example, like net zero carbon or reduction by carbon by 50%, and increase trees by 1 million trees in 5 years. These and there are different agencies that will be involved. So I think that is actually very important. Perhaps maybe to have a coordinating agency for sustainability. There could be a resilient officer. I'm not putting my CV up, but there could be a resilient officer. I remember when I was in Rotterdam, I was introduced to the Chief Resilient Officer of Rotterdam, Arno. And he did tell me that his role is really very interesting. He's coordinating with all the different agencies. But whether they listen to him or not, it's a different story. But he's coordinating with all the different agencies and all the KPIs to make it work. So that will probably be my high-level answer to you. And I hope that is satisfactory.
So, Eugene, I have got a set of questions, so I'll go a bit faster if you don't mind.
Sure.
The second question is from Prince. Would you switch to smart business cards from the paper-based business cards? Do you think world is moving?
I would definitely will. In fact, I was looking at Facebook. There was somebody that was selling $25 for a smart business card that can, you can keep your business cards out there, and you can literally bump it to somebody else, and it will go into your phone and in the LinkedIn. I think this is it's very sustainable. I'm in the process of buying one myself, and so when I saw it on Facebook, I thought it was a very good idea. I think it's sustainable, and it definitely will, help in terms of helping in terms of my clients. You don't need to key in, I'll pump it to you, and he will get my information. So I think that's a good idea. So I'm downloading one from Facebook actually. Good question.
Good. Good. Third question is from Nera. What policies should governments implement for major cities for such sustainable solutions?
Well, I think in terms of policies, it has to first, I think, be holistic. It has to such policies will have to be able to permeate down to different agencies, the different departments that are governing them. They need to have good KPIs and targets. And I think most importantly, there must be an interministerial or intergovernmental agency or a body that helps to coordinate with all these. Because if not, then you even though you have a different set of KPIs, you may have different agencies moving still in different speed, different directions. But with that inter-agent or interministerial or even inter-department coordinating body, that will actually help a lot in this road to sustainability, smart and resiliency.
Good, thanks. Moving on to the next question. What are the standards out there to follow for smart cities, and why do you think those are to be followed?
Again, another good question, Raj. I think the standards, again, you do have the ISO 37100 in ISO 37100 in the whole series of the smart, sustainable, resilient standards. I always believe that smart cities will have to be designed smartly as well. So there's an international standard called ISO 19650 for BIM and collaborative design. This is similar to the PAS 1192 in the UK, as well as the other standards in terms of quality, like 9,000, 14,000 for environment, 18,000 for safety, and so on and so forth. So that's the reason why when I think the first question on policies and governance came up, I thought, you do need to have a framework, and once you get that framework with the KPIs that will meet all these standards, for example, then you're actually designing and building a city that actually not only meets international standards, but people have been there and done that, like Chongqing in China has already done that already. So we are learning from other people's pain points, and we are actually improving from that, and then we can go back and improve that standard that has been done.
Thanks. Yeah. Next question from Del Place. Do you think in future the education system will take more initiatives for the improvement of sustainability in our society?
Sorry, Raj, can you repeat the question again? Which system?
Do you think in future the education system will take more initiatives for the improvement of sustainability in our society?
Yeah, I think this is another good question, because right now, first and foremost, sustainability is moving very fast, right? On one hand, you have the UN SDGs, then you're going to carbon, and now you have the RECs coming out, and so forth. So education is very important, and that's the reason why, even on my personal capacity, I'm giving back my time to the universities to teach. I've been teaching in a national university for almost 12 years already, and bringing them up to speed. There's another element on smart cities where I think it's neglected. I'm trying to talk to RICS to say that the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors and the Chartered Institute of Building to say that can you look into smart cities as well, because smart cities is just not one guy that can bring everything together. It's a different groups of people coming together. You can't just talk to a technologist because you just see a vertical in technologies. Neither can you talk to an environmental consultant because you just look at the environment. You need to bring people who have legs in both areas together to be able to come up with a new skill, right? And so I think universities are pushing towards that. I know Harrowwood, Reading, Sheffield, they're moving into that already. But just be ready. There's a new breed of people that's coming up that will be skilled in these areas, and we must be able to manage that, because if not, then we're going to be in trouble. So people my age, I'm 45 this year, must be able to manage these bright people coming up in this design operation of this smart city.
So it's a COVID question for you, Eugene. Next one. So yeah, given the push for working from home during COVID, is this impacting on future design of cities and homes? If so, how what are the things which are coming up?
Again, this is a very good question, and actually I have a full-fledged presentation on that. But just the key point is that, number one, homes will be probably have to be designed with spaces where we can actually work in, because we working. I won't say work from home, okay? I will say working. WOOF, working out of office, okay, is going to be a norm. And the youngsters these days, the next the millennials love this flexibility, working from a Starbucks, working from a coffee house, working under a tree, for example, with 5G connectivity. So I think that will actually change the way how offices are going to be built. I'm not saying that 100% of people are going to be like that. Some, for example, some industries may still need that office space, granted, but the tech is now looking at work out of office sort of arrangement. So home designs will be different. COVID will also change the space design, because normal car parks, for example, will have to change, whereby car parks may have to have a dual role. As one moment is a car park, the next moment it could be a community care facility. So we need to think about that as well. The spaces between buildings and the calculation of number of people within a certain space will have to change. The air exchange will have to change within a building itself, which means bigger ducts, better ventilation and air exchanges. So all these are changing the way we live and we design now. And I must say it's quite exciting, because it's always a debate. Will people move back to office, or will people will still work out of office? So I think it is going to be a mixture. And if you take the middle road as a 50% or 70 percentile, I don't think you'll be wrong. But you just need to make sure that there's enough space, convertible space, so that just in case more and more have to move back to office, or more have to move less out of office, that these areas can be multifunctional.
Nice,
I hope I answered your question, right?
Yeah. Thanks for that. And in the interest of the time, I will be posing the last question from Tara.
Sure.
What are the most simple yet effective changes that can be made by companies within a community to increase their sustainability?
Well, I think, Tara, if you look at it internally, that's most important, whereby if the companies have their own sustainable goals that they can look at. For example, a simple bring your own mug. So I have my own mug here. I don't get use paper mugs. So I'm known in my office that I have my own Autodesk cup when I buy tea from the cafeteria, for example. If you can look at zero waste, if you can sort out your waste, that would be great. If you can look at how you can even the habit, the behaviors of how you use the electricity. So, for example, Tara, if I do not switch off my plugs at night if I go out, if I leave my computers at standby mode, your printers at standby mode, the vampire loads or the plug loads that you have, it can be anywhere between 1 to 3%. If I can save that, that's 1 to 3% less in terms of the energy utility bill that you have. But a year, the amount of carbon that you can save is going to be in tons. So I think that if you subscribe to the Starfish story, is that if the little boy was going to the beach and was throwing starfish back to the sea, the man comes around and says, there's no difference, there's thousands of starfish, and he just took one and threw back to the sea and said it makes a difference to that one. So if every individual makes that difference, then the impact collectively will be very great for just an office space, or for the matter, your home space as well.
Thanks, Eugene. And after hearing the answer for the last question, I can't resist to ask you one more last question, if you don't mind, because I felt it is very useful question. Have you been met with any of the people with any resistance from the public in terms of sustainability? Did you see anyone saying that it is overkilling and it is expensive, or and if so, then how do you overcome such concerns or any such issues?
Well, I guess that there are always this type of people because, for example, some developers, when they develop residential buildings, they build and they sell, right? They're not going to hold the building for perpetual or for the lease of the land. So I do meet this type of clients, but I guess first and foremost, there is a bigger picture by the government. Number one, government, they say that, look, if you're not going to go sustainable, you don't have the building permit to build, right? So there's actually a bigger picture out there. The second thing is cost. It doesn't really mean that it's going to be more expensive to be sustainable. I mean, PVs, photovoltaic cells, they used to have a 20-year, 30-year sort of a payback, but now the payback is actually gone down to 10 years or less. Or now there's an OPEX model as well. That means you share the cost with the provider or the vendor. Some of the costings that we've shown to our clients say that, look, you may have to incur a 5%, 10% more cost now, but the payback's in 2 years or 2 years. But by the way, you're going to sell the building in 6 years' time, right? You're going to be in the bank for 3 years, So we have to do this thing called a life cycle costing for the client. We have to do, this type of persuasion from the balance sheet or from the cost aspect. Of course, the third client will be those that are really saying that we have to do it, but it has to be in moderation and so on and so forth. Those clients are easier to work with. But then again, sometimes they have all these ideas and then they see the bottom line is first. So we do this thing called value management and value engineering. It's big in the UK. The Institute of Value Managers, I've done my 2 certificates over there. I'm still short of submitting my report though. But value management will be able to bring the cost down, still meeting the objectives of the project by the client. So there's a whole slew of services and approach and methodologies to that. We just need to be able to make sure we use the right one for the client at the right time in the right place. Okay, Raj?
Yeah. Thanks. It's amazing, actually, and I would like to thank you, Eugene, for sharing such an insightful information about sustainability in cities and communities. And also, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for taking time to be here today and also patient listening. And also, I would like to thank CMI Singapore for providing me an opportunity to be the host of the day. And wishing you all a great day ahead. Back to you, Claire. Yeah.
Bye. Stay safe. Stay safe.
Brilliant. Thanks, Raj. So yeah, wow, really, really interesting session. That's it for today's session. Thank you to all who joined us. Thank you to Raj for hosting and to Eugene for your insights and expertise. Don't forget, if you're already a member of CMI, you can log into Management Direct using the link in the live chat, where you can find a wide range of exclusive and practical in development resources and much more. If you're not yet a member or subscriber, you can join our community via the link again in the live chat to gain full access to our Management Direct portal. You can also sign up for the free CMI newsletter for the latest trends and tips for managers and leaders. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.